Over the years, Iowa's role in the presidential elections has grown in size, scope, and importance. It's the first state in the nation to hold a caucus, a tradition that has been going strong since 1972. The Hawkeye State is a good indicator of how other key swing states are likely to vote. President Trump won there by 9 points in 2016. Both parties have invested heavily in the state. Just today, Vice President Mike Pence made a campaign stop there as the state reels from the coronavirus pandemic and a devastating storm that left thousands without power this week. Joining me now is Josh Kraushaar. He is a senior national political columnist for the National Journal Daily. Welcome, Josh. So what makes Iowa so important in this presidential election?
Well, it is a test of whether Democrats can appeal to middle America, whether they can appeal to heartland voters. And they can win the presidency. Joe Biden can win the presidency without Iowa. But if Democrats can win Iowa, not just at the presidential level, but if they can win the Senate race there, hold their House seats, it would suggest that they're going to have a really big night in November, that they can expand their appeal, not just to the cities and the suburbs, but into rural America, into, winning over a lot of working class voters who have resisted the Democratic Party in recent elections.
Well, recent polls show President Trump losing his political advantage in Iowa after winning the state 4 years ago. What do you think is behind that drop?
The coronavirus is driving Trump's job approval numbers downward. He's only leading by, I believe, 2 points in a new Monmouth poll that came out this week. And also the economy. I mean, this is a farmland agricultural economy that's not been faring that well in recent years, especially since the pandemic hit. So this is a very close presidential race. Needless to say, Trump can win Iowa but still lose the presidency. But if he can't even win Iowa, which is a state he carried by 9 points in the last election, it would be a sign that Democrats are riding a wave into power in the November election.
So given that, when you look at the two campaigns' ground games, the president's and Joe Biden's, how do they actually compare in Iowa?
Well, both because Iowa has the first in the nation caucuses, Democrats have gotten a little bit of a head start. Joe Biden didn't do that well in the caucuses, but he has a very substantial operation, and there's a lot of money being spent by both campaigns. You mentioned Vice President Pence's visit today to Iowa. It's the third time he's been there since the pandemic. President Trump spent a campaign visit in June in Iowa to talk about ethanol production. So there's both campaigns realize how important Iowa is for this election. But I mean, I also think that this is a sign of future elections. If Republicans can hold on to Iowa, it shows that they have a potential coalition going forward with working class voters, with more rural voters. Maybe they can, maybe they don't win this election, but they've shown that they can still hold on to a blue collar voting base. If they lose Iowa, then they're going to have to start rethinking how to move the party forward, because that's a state that should be in their column, given how well Trump did there in 2016.
So you touched on this a moment ago, but looking in the near term now, is Iowa a make or break state for either campaign?
It's a make or break state for the president. The president needs to win Iowa. I would also, though, point to the House races in the state that are very big for Democrats. There are 3 districts that are held by Democrats that are all very, very competitive. Republicans think that they can, cut into the Democrats' House majority, and they can really pick up a seat or two in these swing districts. If Democrats can win all those 3 battleground districts, again, they may not just hold the House majority, they may expand it.
So that's the House. What about the Senate race? How could that impact control of the Senate?
Senate race in Iowa may be the biggest in the country. It may decide which party holds the majority. Senator Joni Ernst is the incumbent, a Republican. She won a very competitive race 6 years ago, but the times have changed, and her connection to President Trump has hurt her as the president's job approval rating has declined in Iowa. Her opponent is Democrat Teresa Greenfield. She's a newcomer to the political scene, someone who is a businesswoman, who is an outsider to politics. If Democrats win Iowa, they probably have gotten that majority. Mitch McConnell would be ousted as Senate Majority Leader, and it's a sign that they can actually win other red states on the Senate map, like Montana and Georgia and even Texas.
Really high political stakes. Josh Kraushaar, Josh, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.